Hi everyone. Today we're going to be doing the last lesson for Unit 7, which is being able to write quadratic equations given a point on the parabola and the vertex of the parabola. So let's go ahead and look at our learning target and success criteria for this lesson. So once again, we're writing an equation, and you can see here's vertex form below that we're going to be using during this lesson. Okay. We need to know what the vertex is and a point. Notice here that it lets you know that the h and the k that are in the equation are the vertex. And then we are also going to plug in a point as well. Because you'll notice, like, if you're writing an equation in vertex form, you need three things. You need h and k, which is our vertex, and that's given to us. But what's not given to us is what the a value is. Okay, so that point they give us is going to help us to find the a value, and you'll see how in just a moment. And the last thing that we have not learned how to do is to convert from vertex to standard form. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first problem. Given the vertex and the point given, write the equation in vertex form. So I'm going to keep the vertex form up there at the top for us to look at. So let's start by just plugging in the h and the k. So the vertex is the h and the k, and I find it's very important to label the two letters. Okay. Now previously we talked about h and k and how that was a shift left or right or up or down for the parabola, but it is also the vertex. So let's go ahead and write our equation. Y equals a parentheses x minus -2 squared plus k, which is 7. So notice how in the formula we have, we plugged in the h and the k, and when we plugged in the h, there's a minus in the formula, that's right here, okay? And then also we had a negative from the actual point, so there's a double negative there. And we can rewrite a double negative as a positive. So it's really a plus. Keep that in mind. That's very important. That could happen pretty frequently, actually. So our equation is almost great, except for, remember, we don't know the a value. So what we do is we take the other point, okay? We're going to take the other point and plug it in for x and y. Okay, so I'm going to label that as well. I'm going to label the other point x and y. Now the biggest problem most students have here is labeling them incorrectly and thinking that the vertex is the point and the point is the vertex. Make sure the vertex is specifically labeled h and k and that the point is labeled x and y. So now I'm going to go ahead and plug in the x and the y. So y is 10, x is -1. Now, when you're doing this and you're using your calculator to help you a little bit, because you may not know everything, you may want to type this part in on your own. Keep in mind, do not add the 7 to it yet, but you can find out what -1 plus 2 is. I'm going to show it all by hand, but you can type that whole thing in the calculator if you wish. Okay? So -1 plus 2 is 1. 1 squared, which means 1 times 1, is also 1. Now, what is a times 1? Keep in mind, if there's nothing between the a and the parentheses, there's a times there. Okay, so what is a times 1? 1a. You do not add that 1 with that 7, okay? From here, we are just solving for a. So we're going to minus 7 on both sides of the equal sign. So we have 1a equals 3. And then to get rid of the number in front of the a, you would normally divide by that number. Sorry, not a. Divide by 1. on both sides. So A is equal to 3. So now we're going to go back to this step right here where the H and the K are already plugged in, and now we just have to replace the A with 3. So y equals 3, parentheses, x plus 2 squared plus 7. Okay, so the letters, the x and y should still be x and y, but you should replace the A with 3, and then the H and the K are there as well. So let's look at the problem as a whole. There it is. We started out by replacing H and K, the vertex, and then to find A, we plugged in the x and the y of the other point in for x and y. And then we solved. We kind of simplified it as much as possible and tried to get A by itself and solve for the letter A. We found out that A was 3. And we went back to the second step here and replaced A with 3. And there's our equation in vertex form. So go ahead and pause the video and try example 2. Okay, everyone, have a look at example 2. You'll notice here that in the formula, there is a plus K. So since our K was negative, it was plus -7. That is the same thing as -7. Please keep that in mind, okay? Change that plus -7 to a -7. And that's our equation, and we just didn't know what A was, so we replaced X and Y with 1 and -10. You can see them highlighted. And then notice I did kind of mash 2 steps together right here. You can see that this is A times -2 squared, and -2 squared means -2 times -2, which is 4. But we don't write A4, we write 4A. So I switched them so that the 4 was in front of the A. Okay. And then to get rid of the -7, we added 7 to both sides. And then to get A alone, we divided both sides by 4 and got that A was -3/4. Went back to step 2 and replaced the A into the formula. Okay, so check to make sure you know how to do that, okay? Look through all the steps, see if you have any questions. If you do, raise your hand so that your teacher can come help you. Now, the last thing we're going to learn today is, can we convert from vertex form, which is what we have been using in the last 2 problems, into standard form? So look at the 2 forms on here. How are we converting from this one to this one? Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at. So the first step on there says that we need to rewrite the squared binomial. Binomial just means 2 terms, okay, and it's being squared, as a product of 2 binomials. So remember, to square something means that we're multiplying it times itself. So I can write x plus 4 squared as x plus 4 times itself. So just don't forget that you are still having the -3 there on the end, and you still have that negative in the front. Now let's multiply those 2 things together. If for some reason you don't remember how to multiply, look over here on the left. Remember the box method? So we're multiplying x plus 4 times x plus 4. Okay, so x times x is x squared. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, now if we were to combine all of that together, we would get x squared. Combine the 4x's together to get 8x plus 16. So that's what we get when we multiply this together. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's what's happening here, and we're going to do that same thing. Okay, we just did it, so what we're going to do is the negative is still there, but instead of all of this, we're going to replace it with what we got when we multiplied them together. Okay, so we've done step 1 and 2. Now we're distributing the A value. Remember, the A value is the value in front of the parentheses. For us, there's just a negative, which means our A value is actually -1. And so now we need to distribute it or multiply it to each of the terms in the parentheses only. Okay, so let's multiply that out. Okay, -1 times x squared is -1x squared, or just -x squared. -1 times 8x is -8x. -1 times 16 is -16. And don't multiply it by that -3. It's going to stay a -3. Because it was not in the parentheses, you would not distribute it to the -3. Now we're on step 4, combine like terms. So that -16 and -3 that are at the end can be combined to get our final answer. -x squared and -8x stay the same. -16 minus 3 is -19. And look, it's standard form. We've got our a, our b, our c. That is standard form of a quadratic function. Look through the steps again. Always go back to this where it says converting to standard form so you can see what steps you need to take, and then go back and look at this example. So what I'd like you to do now is give the 2 star questions a try and then check your answer. So pause the video. Okay guys, notice that in this problem, once you've plugged in H and K, the vertex, you can eliminate answer choices A and C because that person, whoever created those 2 answer choices, they plugged in 3 and 10 for H and K, but H and K has to be the vertex. It cannot be some random point. So A and C are incorrect. And then once you solve for A, you can see that the A value is -9, not +9. So our final answer is D. Lastly, check out your answer for the second star problem. Notice that I changed x plus 2 squared to become x plus 2 times x plus 2. I multiplied them in the box method and then plugged it back in. Instead of x plus 2 times x plus 2, I replaced it with x squared plus 4x plus 4. Then I had to distribute the a value, the 3 in the front, and then now there are no parentheses, and I had to combine my constants. The like terms at the end, the 12 and the 7, could be combined to get 19. Okay. If you need to, this video is always posted, so you can always go through it again. And if you have any questions, please make sure to raise your hand and tell your teacher. Okay. Have a good day.